Hey guys, it's Passport Bro Visuals. Back at it with another one. So yeah, I want to get right into it. Yeah, I want to discuss. Last night, Jay Rello got into a car crash in Sousa, or Dominican Republic. He is okay, but he had to go to jail because of it. It sounds like it's in that country. It's more like you have to. It's more like a transit police type thing. So he's pretty much staying overnight until they can, so they can come and then talk to everybody and assess the problem. But right now, yeah, man, he's in jail for this. Like I said, he's rushing to get there. And like I said, I don't really see the point of taking a Halloween trip. It's really not that serious. And I found out him and K9 got a problem. You know what I'm saying? Which I didn't know they had a problem. So, but I already knew that was going to happen eventually, based off of their personalities. And I figured, Jay Rello most likely would mess that up. So, but I'll have to see about how that goes. But he's supposed to go there to, get straight with him as far as, I guess, a one-on-one, get that out the way. And then, that'll be that, because he had him on the split list thing. And, K-Line don't like that because, he sent him $300-something and all that stuff multiple times, Jay Rello can't even do that for him once. It can be okay, you know what I'm saying? So, that says a lot about Jay Rello and his situation. So, as far as how he getting by and all that. So, but yeah, that's what he was on his way to go do, or something, basically. You know what I'm saying? Get that out the way, because he felt disrespected on being on the split list, because, like, why, you know what I'm saying? They're supposed to be cool and stuff like that, and he's taking it, how he's taking it, rightly so, So, yeah, right now, Jay Rello is in jail. I don't know what's going to happen with that. I speculate, I'm actually watching LLTV live right now. He's on a live on Razor Ray's live from last night, when all this had popped off. But yeah, me personally, I think he might end up staying there for a while. And, this just goes to show, this just speaks to, like I was saying before about Jay Rello. Jay Rello, at this point, the stage of him being a passport bro, he is a whoremonger. He's a whoremonger. He liked to, he liked to pay for play. Yeah, he may not care for it from the beginning, but he do like getting some play, you know what I'm saying, from females. And he's at a point where it's like, he like going to these countries, but if he can get some play, he good, you know what I'm saying? And the play is pretty much cheap. It don't even matter to him. Like, it matters to be good, but it don't matter, like, how much he's spending, because it's not really much for it. Really, all you gotta do is pay for the trip. Let's say $900 for a trip. Right? He do that, and he pay, he do that, and he'll pay, for the place, and then he just sleep with, the girls that he sleep with, that he'll pay for, That's where he's at right now. He's a like I said, he's a whoremonger. That's what he's doing. That's who he is. And he can't go without sex with these girls for a while because, let's just face it, Jay Rello is a bum. Look at someone like K9, who is a truck driver, which is a successful job, career in itself. I've seen his live a couple times where he's been on the road, but he's a guy who got out the mud. He may have went through some things. He may have had a record, I don't know. I wouldn't think so, but it's possible. But the fact is, he's a guy who got out the mud, overcame what he overcame. He's a family man. He's doing his thing. You know what I'm saying? And, Jay Rello, he's not Rello's the type he's not that disciplined. So when I hear K9 speaking, he's kind of like at his worst or like his least mature. Even in that, I can tell he's his lowest in his maturity when he be going in. That level in itself is still more mature than someone like Jay Rello. You know what I'm saying? Because it just shows that, hey, I gotta take care of business. I may or may not be able to, get help from family or friends like that. You know what I'm saying? Jay Rello, he's the type of dude. He may have been a street dude, a hood dude, but typically they do. They got a lot of people, who family and friends that support them, throughout their lives, a lot. And of course, it kind of wanes, as you get older, but a lot of people, there's a lot of people like that out there. Jay Rello, he's definitely one of those people. He may have, kind of burned his bridges with a lot of that back home in Gary, but that's the difference between him and someone like K9, right. And, like I said, he's stuck out there. I think he's going to be stuck for a little while. And like I say, you're a guy driving a car with no insurance, which you probably ain't even pay for insurance all like that if you did. You know what I'm saying? You're in a foreign country. You're only there for a little while. Only kind of good thing is, ironically, is that he don't have a job, so he won't have that urgency to go back to something, although he should. But like I said, he's dealing with that, but that kind of works out slightly, due to his own ignorance. But yeah, man, he should have stayed. There was no reason, again, just like last year when he lost the job, there was no reason to take a Halloween trip. It's not really that serious. That's the weirdest thing for me. Only ones that can do it are people who got money, like a K9, who can afford that and try to make that happen. But you're not, quite frankly, you're not that guy. Jay Rello is not that guy. No, he's just not. So yeah, I think he's gonna be stuck out there for a little while. He might catch a charge behind this, so I don't know how that's gonna look back in the States, assuming he has a PO or not, but he might be stuck down there for a while. I'm talking probably it may not have him there for a couple of months. I'll say a couple of weeks to a month. But you gotta understand, Jay Rello is probably getting into these problems, situations. Yeah, it's due to his own doing. But he's also doing this because, let's just face it, I said this before, he's a bum guy, right? He's a pookie. He's an ex-con, and he's from Gary, Indiana. The unemployment is 8.8% unemployment rate in Gary, Indiana, and it's had historically low unemployment for decades. He's from that. You know what I'm saying? He's from that environment. He made the situation worse when he got caught up and caught that case and ended up going to prison, coming to ex-con, state property, so to speak. But he messed up his life then. But like he said, they let you do half of your time, so he's basically given 14, 15, but they let him do 7. You know what I'm saying? And I have to say this, that 7 years, unfortunately, when he was in prison, was probably the easiest for his family and his friends, at that time. You know what I'm saying? That's probably the easiest time for them, in spite of him being in prison, let alone for that, for what he was involved in. So I think that was probably the easiest, thing for them. You know what I'm saying? And at that time, and Jay Rello, like I said, he come from that type of ilk where he has a lot of support from friends and family in order to keep the fuck shit going. So I don't know how that's gonna go with him being out there. It could be a couple weeks, to a month, a couple months. I think it's gonna be probably a few months. It's not gonna be a year type of thing, but it could be a few months where it's a thing where it's kind of worse than Kenya somewhat, as far as like him being out there. But it might be like a thing where he's just kind of out there and kind of dealing with a case. But there was no reason for him to go out there. And some might even argue he might have did this on purpose, which I wouldn't disagree, but I don't really agree at all. It's kind of conspiratorial. It just doesn't make sense. But for him, anywhere is better than Gary, Indiana. He's just that type of guy and type of bum, you know what I'm saying? No disrespect, but that's what it is. So for him, this is better for him, to be there. But hey, the thing is, you can't enjoy the country because you in the jail. And this type of shit right here, this type of stuff hurts his fan base support, because this hurts their fan base. It hurts his fan base because you getting the views and stuff, but you're wasting your money, wasting their money. Now you're in jail, and they can't see any so-called content from him. You know what I'm saying? Like, if I get that money, you talking about going on a trip to Thailand, I get arrested. For something petty over there, like it just kills the whole vibe, And on top of that, it's just, at the same time, people do want to see the guys come together in certain countries, around time like Halloween or something like that. They want to see that too. They want to see some good things, and that's good. But when a guy like him, he can't have his shit together in the sense of like staying out of trouble, that's just kind of what it is. It just kind of takes away the sting from it. And it's weird for him to be an ex-con going to jail in another country. Like, you shouldn't even, that should be the farthest thing from your mind. But that just shows how lacking in appreciation he is to his fan base, to get this money from him, let alone a passport, And for him to have this money and go on these trips and stuff like that versus people out there working hard and stuff, trying to get out the mud, trying to get a passport eventually and save some money for a trip and the timing and all that, who's going and who's not going, just themselves and the ticket and all that. So, a guy like him, he's very fortunate, because he got that type of personality, but that type of personality held him back, because you can't tell a guy anything. You can't tell a guy like him anything, you know what I'm saying? And I got this personality. I'm gonna make my way from this personality. And you see where that led him. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I think is the problem. With Jay Rello and people like him. So yeah, I think he's gonna be down there probably. In worst case scenario, he's definitely there past it. He's definitely there past the end of this year. So maybe in January, February, I wouldn't be surprised to be there for 4 to 6 months. You know what I'm saying? But it really depends. And then you gotta remember that whole delete the video thing that happened down there in Dominican Republic. That might be, that might be that situation may come back on. The whole delete the video thing. You know what I'm saying? Because if that happens, then the cops, police down there entertaining that, then he might be down there for a while, you know what I'm saying? But like I say, guys like him, coming from, where they at, the bottom and stuff, being in Dominican Republic, in a jail, for him, that's better, you know what I'm saying? That's better than being in Gary, Indiana. But see, he's the type of guy who he always got his way and always been bailed out. And he's not used to, sticking with it and taking care of business. He got to find some type of way out. And that's the type of way that led him, into prison in the first place. You know what I'm saying? So, with that type of thinking, that's what led him into prison the first time. You know what I'm saying? So, with that type of thinking, it's just really sad and it's really immature. That's the difference between him and K9. K9 really is about his business. Whether somebody thinks he's kind of comparable to him, hey, there's a difference between him and Jay Rello. Quite a few things, you know what I'm saying? And that's the difference between, winners and losers. And Jay Rello, no disrespect, but he's a loser, But like I said, I think he might be down there for, 4 to 6 months, they might let him go, but he may not even be able to really do no real YouTube videos. And if he do, he definitely gonna be getting the money. And that's what I'm saying. He may not even get the money. You know what I'm saying? From the fan base. He may have to call other YouTubers to try to bail him out. But he should have stayed. Should have never pushed his luck. And that's how I know it's getting bad for him as a traveler, because he's really a whoremonger. He's he's really a whoremonger. He's whoremongering. That's what he's doing. That's what he does. You know what I'm saying? And he's doing this, and he's like I said, he just likes the cheap sex in these nice countries. You know what I'm saying? And he's not getting no sex out there in Gary, because if he spent that $600 or something like that on that, where you claimed he got scoped, which that was a lie. You know what I'm saying? He probably did pay for some box. You know what I'm saying? But that right there, that's what I think happened. You know what I'm saying? And that's the problem right there. He got addicted to tricking the whoremonger. You know what I'm saying? Because he can talk to these girls, have a good time and stuff, but he ain't got to spend too much on them. You know what I'm saying? That's why I say I think his original goal on YouTube was to get monetized, grow the channel so he can get monetized, the views and everything, and then just to go live overseas, like let's say Dominican Republic, you know what I'm saying, and just have that kind of like as his base instead of Gary and the other, and he just travel, just live out there in Dominican Republic, and just basically trick, you know what I'm saying? And just basically be a trick, because that's what I think his goal is, or goal was. But like I say, he's such a guy that's in his way, he can't really help himself. You know what I'm saying? So I think, like I say, I think he been out there tricking too much. I think he got pretty much addicted to it, and I think that right there is a sign of like how he is tricking, and how bad the tricking got for him. You know what I'm saying? Because you have to trick on a woman here, and you spend all that $600 or whatever it was just on that, and then you're hollering for more money for the trip. You know what I'm saying? That's your sign that you got a problem, and that's your sign that you shouldn't be, you need a job, but he's not focusing. You know what I'm saying, on that. He don't want to deal with his situation, and he'd rather just keep running from it. You know what I'm saying? You sat up there, recorded your job, as far as you being fired and stuff. Of course, you made it harder for yourself. And that job was a decent job, you know what I'm saying? It was a bullshit job, but it was a good, decent job, especially for like an ex-con, you know what I'm saying, to build from. You talking about tripping off for 3 days off of vacation. I mean, you could have, for like a year, you probably would have had like 6 or 8 the following year. You know what I'm saying? But see, you're so used to instant gratification. Again, that's why he went to prison, and that's why he's in jail now in a foreign country. Which you never been to jail in a foreign country until now. And now we don't know how that's going to go for him, But like I say, I mean, if it's worst case scenario, he's really going to be off for YouTube a while in a foreign country. And if he were to do any lives, he's only going to be using that to get money to get up out of there. So, that just speaks volumes to him. You got to take care of your business, you know what I'm saying? So, that's what I think, And he's a guy who's just not used to it. He's a guy who just wants to work, have a little spot, and he just trick, and trick and have a good time, But again, that's not you really taking care of business, because you're not even disciplined enough to really even do that, you know what I'm saying? You just got to be constant, fun, and, smoking and drinking, you know what I'm saying? But now, it's really starting to show that you are a whoremonger, and this ain't really good for you, Because you don't have the discipline, you don't have the wherewithal, you don't have the discipline. You're making fans of yours enemies unnecessarily. I don't know why you want to split or make a joke about splitting K9. He did nothing but help you. Even if it's a so-called joke, really, you should want to give him the fade just out of respect and honor for him, you know what I'm saying? And that don't make no real sense at all. And, I like K9 a lot, you know what I'm saying? I actually like him more than, prefer him more than J Rello personally, you know what I'm saying? I always knew he was going to grow in the space, as he has. But, yeah, I think J Rello, he's going to be down there for a while. I'll say 6 months, 4 to 6 months down there, the worst case scenario. He's definitely going to be there probably by the end of the year, definitely past the end of the year. It's probably not that serious, but he's definitely going to try to get the money, you know what I'm saying? And he's definitely be calling YouTubers and stuff like that. But I don't think this time he'll get bailed out as easily. Because last time was hard for him too. But I think with this, he's still testing the waters with the support. But I think with this might be it for him. Yeah, it'll take longer than it used to get the money, or he just won't get the money, and he'll just have to ask, whatever YouTubers mess with him, But guys like him, they gotta learn, and they have to reteach themselves just to sit down, chill, relax, and take care of business consistently, daily. You know what I'm saying? And he's just not that guy. But like I say, if you want to just live in another country, get monetized, live in another country like sousa, and just make the money off of YouTube. I mean, have some type of level of discipline. You know what I'm saying? And you really don't have that. So that you know what I'm saying? That just speaks to guys like him. And again, that's just why they in the situations that they in. So yeah, but that's just how they go. So, but yeah, that's I'm gonna keep you guys posted on that, and that's my video on this. See you guys on next one.